Imagine if we believed that we can only be happy if we have $1,000. That means until we reach that amount, we won't feel happy. But when we look around, we see that very few people actually have that much money. So it seems like happiness is hard to come by if it depends on having so much money. Being in debt or owing something is not a good feeling, especially when it's something we desire but can't have yet. We can only clear this debt and achieve happiness when we finally get what we want. But since what we want is rare and everyone else wants it too, it's difficult to get and easy to lose. So, in our experience, happiness feels scarce and hard to find. If we make our happiness depend on things that are hard to get, it brings stress, unhappiness, and insecurity. We worry a lot about not having what we want, losing what we already have, and things not going the way we want in the future. If we can meet our needs without feeling deprived, we can find contentment more easily. And the quickest way to have an abundance is by reducing our desires and wants. So, if you are looking for something in your life, try letting go of your need for it. This video is exactly for you. But before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel and turn on post notifications to stay up to date on our future uploads. The paradox of happiness. There's a paradox when it comes to pursuing happiness. If we try too hard to be happy, it can actually make us less happy. It's like trying to catch a butterfly. The more we chase it, the more it eludes us. Happiness is not something we can force or control. It's something that happens naturally when we're not focused on it. A philosopher named Viktor Frankl said that happiness cannot be pursued directly. Instead, it comes as a byproduct of living a meaningful life and doing things that matter to us. When we have a purpose or something greater than ourselves to focus on, happiness can emerge as a result. Frankl himself found meaning and happiness even in the midst of great suffering during his time in concentration camps. Happiness is something we all want, but it can be difficult to find. We often think that if we do certain things or have certain things, we will be happy. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes we have high expectations and hopes for things that end up disappointing us. We keep searching for happiness in different ways, but it can feel like it's always just out of reach. So, instead of constantly chasing happiness, we should focus on finding meaning and purpose in our lives. When we engage in activities that align with our values and make a positive impact, happiness can follow. It's like a pleasant surprise that shows up when we least expect it. We don't have to actively seek happiness. It will come naturally when we're living authentically and doing what matters to us. Be thankful for what you have. Sometimes we tend to focus on what we want rather than appreciating what we already have. It's like we're always searching for something more, which can leave us feeling unsatisfied and longing for things that are out of reach. But what if we shifted our perspective and started being grateful for what we have? This simple act of gratitude can bring us a lot of joy and contentment. When we fail to recognize and cherish what we have, we end up constantly seeking something else to fill that void. But if we turn our attention towards the things we do have, we'll realize that happiness is actually within our grasp. Gratitude has the power to make what we already have even more valuable. By practicing gratitude, we change our mindset from dissatisfaction to appreciation. Suddenly, the value of our possessions increases. Not only does gratitude bring us satisfaction, but it can also save us money. Imagine if we constantly gave in to our desires for something new or better. We would be chasing after things that might not truly bring us lasting happiness. However, when we shift our focus to gratitude, we find contentment in what we already have. We realize that we don't always need to seek external sources of fulfillment. The satisfaction we seek can be found within ourselves and the appreciation of what we already possess. The paradox of hedonism. In the 19th century, an American novelist named Nathaniel Hawthorne wrote about this concept. He said that happiness in this world comes incidentally, not as a direct result of seeking it. When we make happiness our main focus and chase after it relentlessly, it becomes like a wild goose chase. No matter how hard we try, happiness seems to slip away from us. We often have expectations that certain actions or experiences will bring us happiness. For example, we might think that meeting up with a friend or buying something new will make us happy. But sometimes, these expectations don't align with reality. The meeting may not go as well as we hoped, or the new purchase may not bring the joy we anticipated. This can lead to disappointment and even make us feel worse than before. So, what can we do to find happiness? It seems that we can create the conditions that make happiness more likely to occur, but ultimately, it remains elusive. There is a paradox called the paradox of hedonism, which suggests that actively pursuing pleasure and happiness can actually interfere with our ability to experience them. The more we focus on finding happiness, the less space we leave for it to naturally arise in our lives. For instance, instead of going on a trip solely to seek happiness, we can approach it as an opportunity for education and personal growth. Rather than spending money on material possessions in the hopes of attaining happiness, we can redirect our resources towards helping others and making a positive impact in their lives. And even if our actions don't directly result in happiness, we can still find satisfaction and contentment in knowing that we have done something good or productive. Being in debt. Being in debt is a stressful experience, and it's not just about owing money. Our desires can also create a different kind of debt, one that weighs heavily on our minds. When we feel a desire, we become indebted to it, shifting from a content state to one filled with longing. Our minds become like creditors, demanding that we fulfill these desires. It's natural to have certain needs that must be met, like satisfying hunger with food or getting restful sleep when we're tired. These short-term desires are relatively easy to fulfill because the necessary resources are usually available. However, things become more complicated when we immerse ourselves in long-term desires that require significant time and effort to achieve. This is when we burden ourselves with long-term debt, a feeling of lacking something until we fulfill that desire. In such cases, it's important to understand that hoping and waiting for something to happen isn't a reliable path to happiness. It keeps us trapped in a cycle of longing and disappointment. True happiness lies in accepting and embracing the present moment, acknowledging that not all desires will be fulfilled, and finding contentment within ourselves. It's easier than you think. Besides thinking about happiness from a philosophical perspective, scientists have also conducted studies to understand how seeking happiness affects our ability to find it. One particular study conducted in 2021 by Felicia Zerwas and Brett Ford, called The Paradox of Pursuing Happiness, explored this interesting paradox. The more we focus on and strive for happiness, the less happy we tend to be. Typically, when we set a goal and work hard to achieve it, we have a good chance of succeeding. However, this doesn't always hold true when it comes to happiness. Surprisingly, research suggests that placing too much importance on being happy can actually have negative effects on our well-being in both the short and long term. It can lead to experiencing fewer positive emotions and ultimately having lower overall life satisfaction. To better understand this paradox, the researchers developed a model based on goal pursuit and applied it to happiness. According to this model, we first set a happiness goal fueled by a strong desire to be happy. We then engage in happiness regulation, which involves using various strategies to increase our happiness. For example, we might plan a trip, go shopping, or seek professional help. Next, we enter the phase of monitoring our progress towards achieving happiness. We compare our desired level of happiness with our current emotional state. If our current state matches our desired state, we consider it a successful outcome in terms of well-being. However, if our current state falls short of our expectations, two things can happen. Firstly, we might try to regulate our happiness further by using additional strategies to boost our mood. Secondly, we might feel disappointed about not reaching our happiness goal, which directly impacts our current emotional state. For example, if we expected a trip to make us extremely happy, but it falls short of our expectations, we might feel let down and become less happy overall. In other words, constantly thinking about how happy we want to be can actually make us feel less happy in the present moment. Happiness cannot be obtained directly through external possessions or achievements. It is a byproduct of gratitude, contentment, and finding joy in the present moment. By appreciating what we have, understanding the true cost of our desires, and embracing a minimalist mindset, we can cultivate a deeper sense of happiness and fulfillment in our lives. What changes can we make to cultivate contentment and happiness by embracing simplicity and reducing our desires? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Make sure to hit the notifications bell to stay up to date on our future uploads. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.